Changing out the alternator on a Thermo reefer unit, SB-210. There's the alternator placement at the top part of the engine. What I'm first going to do is disconnect the batteries, 9/16 for each battery port, and disconnect those battery lines. So after removing the battery cables, I'm going to remove the 4 electrical components from the back of the alternator. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one just pulls off like so. This one just unplugs like so. And then I'm going to get 8mm, 10mm to take off those 2 wires and set them aside. So I got all 4 of my wires off. There's the last one. Just going to tuck those into those fuel lines back over here. Okay, so we have 2 bolts that we need to mess with the alternator. And you can see that our alternator is actually our tensioner on this system. So what I like to do is just mark where that was. It's not entirely necessary, but that's the way I like to do it, so that I can try to get it back up there when I'm putting the tensioner back on. You can see that the tension on this is not extreme. There's still a decent amount of play in this belt, which is okay. But your other bolt is just back there behind that side of the belt. Okay, so we're going to loosen this one first, was a 13mm, and then we're going to go to that other one on the back side. So I loosened this one. You just have to loosen it enough for it to be able to move freely in this bracket. And this is what holds it in place. The other one is what allows it to move up and down. So I got a deep well 17mm socket on there. You can use an extension with a shallow well. And I'm just going to break that one loose. You see the alternator move down. So that's all you need to do. Now I'm going to take the belt off. Here we go. And now that I got everything loose, I'm going to remove these bolts completely in order to take this alternator off. We've got our old and new alternators next to each other. Checking the part number. There's your part number there, 452695. You'll see that the old part, or the new alternator, does not come with the pulley. So you got to take the pulley off the old to then put it onto the new. So you got a 15/16 nut here. I like to use an impact gun, and to pop that nut off, I already lubed it up. I'm going to show you how to take that off. So if you don't have impact gun or whatever, you can try to use a ratchet, but the key to this is impact, especially trying to keep this thing from spinning while you're taking that nut off. So what you can do, get a pry bar, hold it in there like that. Some people might complain that you're going to damage that, but you should be all right. Or what I'm going to do is use a rag and a pair of oil filter pliers, and I'm going to hold this in place while I take the impact gun to that nut. There you go. And let's just slide it off and go onto the new one. There's also an Allen key up here for taking this nut on and off. If you want to use that, put a wrench on there, you put the Allen key, hold it in place, crank that up. I guess that's another way. So I set the new one in there. Got this 13mm side here, and our 17mm side over here, and we're gonna just get those bolts started. Now I snugged up my bolts just enough so it's not flopping in the wind, but that it's still got plenty of play, easy to play. And then I put my belt back on it, make sure it's routed over all the pulleys correctly. I'm going to need 2 hands to do this, but I got my pry bar right here, I want to make sure I'm prying on something that's not going to break. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pry this up until I got good tension. Now I might be at my mark, I might be past it, but I want to have a good amount of tension there. And once I do, I'm going to tighten up my 13mm bolt to keep it in place. I got my 13 tightened up, it's holding it in place. I got good tension on the belt, even better than before. Now I'm going to tighten up my 17 in the back there. We're going to be putting our 4 wires back in place. It should be pretty easy to know the difference. Obviously the small one goes on the smaller screw, the big one goes on the bigger screw. It comes with new hardware usually, so you could throw the old one out, but just in case, you might want to save it. And then this one just slips onto that little probe right there and make sure it's all connected tightly. And I got everything hooked back up. Give it a little tug, make sure everything's on there good. And these ones, in case you're ever in doubt, this is your ground. You can see it goes to this bolt here. And this is going to be your power. So this should be positive, this should be negative, if you can check it by voltages. And we're going to hook our battery back up. We should be ready to go. Just a little tip on this, something I was taught to remember it. You got red socks and black shoes. So you put on and take off the battery cables as if you were wearing red socks and black shoes. Red socks, your socks go on first, your shoes go on second. When you're taking them off, you take your shoes off first, your socks off second. So just a way for you to remember.